Welcome to the Mastermind Workshop. Today, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be breaking down a deal, and we're gonna be talking about the top renovations to make for 2020. So a little background. So really, the genesis for this was, it's really personal to me. I mean, I talked to Steve a little while ago, and I said, "Hey, Steve, I want to own over 100 properties, and I, at some point, want to be able to sustain my life from real estate." He said to me, "Wendell, it starts with a plan." He said, "Okay, you know where you want to go. Okay, now how are we going to get there?" I said to him, he asked me, he said, "Do you own your house right now?" I said, "No." He said, "Okay, so you want to be an investor, but you don't own your house?" I said, "Yeah, it's okay. I'm just gonna take the money and I'm just start investing, and I just keep renting." He said, No, it doesn't work that way, man. When you're building your foundation, he said, you want to start with building your house. You start inside out. So what I did this year, so what I did for 2019 for myself was, I'm in the process of buying a house. Clap, 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 clap. And then in 2020, I plan to actually invest. So, I say that to say that it's all about taking that next step. Everybody here, we're all at different levels. Some people are looking to level up. Some people are looking to manage more effectively. Everybody's at different levels, but we want to help you guys to level up while we help ourselves. So, this is kind of one of those things. We eat our own dog food, and we just share with you guys how it tastes and let you guys chime in. So, Steve, we're going to be breaking down a deal. Talk to me, my man.
Okay, so what we want to do on these webinars that we're doing is we want to really kind of take these deals. We use investment software, which investment is the best way I could describe it for people is for all of us out there that are investors. It's a way to look at MLS listings and other deals outside of your area. So if you're in one city and you want to start looking at other deals, now all of a sudden you can start looking at investment deals or real estate deals in Atlanta, North Carolina, and you can start deriving and pulling your own information from there. And that to me is very important because you want to, if you don't know anyone in North Carolina and you call a realtor, you don't know if they know what they're doing or don't, and you don't know if they know their numbers, and there's no way for you to verify anything except maybe if you know them. So what I like about investment is you can look at a bunch of different markets, a bunch of different targets to see if that city or that market actually aligns with your goals. And does this deal or do these deals make up the strategy to get you to the goal? So
yeah, because for me, my goal is to hopefully in 2020, by the end of 2020, have around 35K saved up, and I want to be able to put it to work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, to me, a lot of this of looking at these deals is the way I equate it to is like swinging the golf club, right? Okay. You got to go to the driving range, even though I do, it doesn't work very well. But anyways, you got to swing the golf club to know what a good deal is.
You got that Charles Barkley thing going on?
I don't know what I have going on. I've got some challenges, let's just say. Anyone golf instructors, I'd be happy to talk to you after. But you want to be able to look at these numbers constantly so that when a deal does come up, that's a deal for me because I've been practicing and I have that muscle memory of knowing what these numbers should and shouldn't be. I think a lot of times as investors, we never look at the numbers. We see a deal and all of a sudden then we try to figure out, right. And you're under the gun because if it's a good deal, it's not going to last and all that, and everyone's rushing you. And now you pull the trigger, you buy the deal, and you find out maybe it was a good deal, and maybe it wasn't a good deal for you.
Right.
And so maybe it's not going to get you closer to your goal. It's going to take you further away because it wasn't something that you wanted or needed or should have bought, but you didn't run the numbers. You didn't swing the golf club. So to me, like with you, yep. A lot of this is just going through, understanding, letting it simmer for a little bit. We come back every other week. We look at a new deal. We assess it. We talk about it. And then we kind of go from there. And then after we do this, then we're going to go and we're going to talk about some of the top things that you should do for renovations.
Because once you have it, then what to do with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Do I overbuild it? What do I do? Do I make it look like my house? What do I do? And that's a common challenge and a common mistake a lot of people do is
right.
They take a property and they're like, well, this is what I would do. And this is how I live in my house.
Right.
And sometimes that's not always the best way.
Right.
So again, this is just something to think about in a way to, really go into different ways of how to look at deals.
Awesome.
So this deal right here we have right now is Alyssa Drive, and it's in Rowlett, Texas, which for those of you who don't know, that is just outside of Dallas. So a little bit about Dallas. Dallas is actually a pretty good area. It has a lot of big contributing factors. I believe 23 of the richest Americans live in Dallas. The top 20 of the top Fortune 500 companies are based out of Dallas. They've got 5 professional sports teams, Indy, NASCAR. It's, I believe, the 3rd largest city in Texas with about 1.2 million, with Dallas and Fort Worth combined. And last I checked, there was about 485,000 non-owner occupied properties in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So to me, that means there's a lot of properties, there's a lot of rotation of properties, but there's a very solid job market. And if anyone's been watching the news for the last couple months, you see there's a lot of businesses moving out of other states, a lot of out of California, and they're going into Texas. A lot of them are going to Dallas. So to me, when I'm looking at a new city, I want to see that there's multiple economic drivers that are contributing to the strength of a city. I don't want to see just one type of industry there. I want to see multiple industries contributing to the strength of the economy. So that's a little bit about Dallas. So now when we look at this property right here, we're looking at Alyssa Drive, and we're going to go through the numbers a little bit to see what it's talking about. Now, it's estimating that you are going to buy this property for $175,000, right? Now, we're going to scroll down to the bottom here to take a look at this property. So this property was built in 1984. It's currently been on the market for 2 days, and it's got a $98 square foot, price per square foot. 3 bed, 2 bath, and it's about 1,800 square feet. And then as you see, you can take a look at the pictures and you can click through and you can see what the house looks like, right? So you're getting an idea, okay? Now, this is giving you some information, but it's not really telling you if it's a good deal or not, right? And I'm going to show you how this goes through because it's kind of interesting. So,
and this is a real deal?
This is a real deal.
So so everybody out there, this is a real deal. Like, you guys can actually buy this deal if you wanted to.
Yeah, this is on investment. I mean, this is an actual deal that you could go and, you know, Mind owns investment software, but you don't need to use Mind to manage the property after you own it. Makes sense, obviously, but it's not something that you have to do. And the investment software is free. So, I mean, it makes sense. And if you see, you know, you can schedule a call right here if you want to talk to someone to learn more about the software, but it's a free login, free sign up. And I'm going to show you some of the things that it does that, to me, it makes a lot of sense to use a tool such as this. So you can see a strike price of $175 and the rent is $1,540. And you're going to be out of pocket $57.85. $57,000 basically. Now, if you look down here, it's telling you after a year, this property is going to go up in value about 9%, and it'll be worth $191. Now, if you look down here, it's going to tell you after that year, you'll have a gross yield of 10.5%, and you'll get about an $8,000 month NOI, net operating income. If you hold this to 15, it's going to forecast this out. Now, this is based on historical data from the neighborhood and a lot of data that it gathers, which I'll show you in a second. You'll get a yield of 7.5, appreciation will go up 4.73, and you'll get a total return of 27%. So the question is that good or bad?
I mean, 27%, that sounds pretty good to me.
I would say it depends.
Okay.
It depends on what your goal is.
Okay.
Because you may want more cash flow.
Right.
You know, you may want higher appreciation. You know, so it depends on what the person's doing and what the deal is for them. It could be a good deal. Right. But it could be a bad deal for someone else.
Right. So
it's to me, there's not enough information here to determine yet whether or not this is a good deal or it's a bad deal.
Okay.
Now, if you scroll down, it shows you where the property is and neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. It shows you some very squiggly lines that show you the neighborhood, which is Lake Meadow Estates, and it actually will show you what the data has done. So it's extrapolating a lot of data here to show you what is going on with the neighborhood, okay? And you see you've got the neighborhood, you've got the city, you've got the market. Scroll down a little more, tells you about the high schools. Now, I'm gonna show you how all this comes into play in a second. Now, if you go up to here, you go to financial details. Now, to me,
it's my favorite part right here, actually.
Yeah, this is where it actually starts because, you know, look, at the end of the day, the numbers are gonna tell you a story. Mm-hmm. And the numbers are telling you a story. Whether or not you choose to listen to these numbers and whether or not you choose to pay attention to what they're telling you, that's up for determination, right?
Yeah, myself.
People that know my story in the past knew that I would make these numbers do whatever I needed to do to have the deal so that I could go home and say I got a good deal. And in hindsight, once the numbers actually did come out, it was not the best deals in the world. And the challenge is the numbers are the numbers.
I think one point to highlight is, the numbers that they have, the assumptions that they have in are based off of what's actually going on in the area. So, and if, this is for Rowlett, Texas. So that means that in Atlanta, if you were looking in North Carolina, it would be a different set of assumptions. But this is based off of historical data where it talks about expense inflation, vacancy, length, and all of that kind of
Correct.
stuff.
So let's what I'd like to do is let's start this way and look at the comps, because the comps is going to tell you a little bit of information. So first of all, if it's worth it, let's look at the price comps, right?
Okay.
So let's say, okay, it is now telling you that it's $17.79. It's $120 a square foot is the average, and the estimated value of this property is actually $214.
Wow.
But it's telling you that you need to get a strike price of $175 to have this make sense. It's actually telling you what you should be purchasing this house for. And it's doing that based down here on rental comps, or sales comps rather, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So it's telling you this is basically your competition, and this is telling you your strike price should be $175, right? And if you see up here, it talks about the value is $214, let's get it at $175. Price per square foot, they're saying is $120, but you should buy it at $98. Okay?
Oh, let me add it. It's a major key. I actually saw, we get a little bit of background information on these deals. So this one is actually an estate sale.
Yes.
So that's why it's so low.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm like,
what's wrong, right?
Yeah. So they said this is an estate sale. So this means they need to sell it fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's 30, So that's a reason why it's a lot lower than the comps.
Yeah. And again, this is something that you look at and go, okay, you're looking at this deal saying, what's the variable? Why, right? And the variable is there's a motivated seller because they need to get rid of it for whatever reason. This one happens to be an estate sale. But again, this is information that, if you were paying attention to this and you were running numbers all the time, and all of a sudden this deal came up and you're seeing everything at 210 to 220, and all of a sudden you see something at 175, you're going to go, wait a second, that's a deal. Am I missing something? Let me see the other variables. You see other variables and you're like, nope, this is a deal. The variable is it's a motivated seller.
It's just preparing for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So we look at the strike price is good, right? Yep. Purchasing it is good. Now let's go to the rent comp. So if you click right here.
So far, I like it.
So far it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far it makes sense. Yeah. So now it's saying, okay, at 1,779 square feet, at 91 cents a square foot, you are looking at $1,610 is the average rent. It's saying if you want to rent this quickly and you want to get this rented, strike price of $115.40.
That's good.
So again, based on other properties in this subdivision, this is why it's saying rent it for $15.40. Yes, the values are $16.10, but you may not rent it for $16.10, or you may have some lag time. Now, this is where you go down here to the financial details, and this is what's important. So if you see right here, you have $175 is the price, $15.40 is the rent. Now, if you scroll down right here, you look and it talks about inflation value, it tells you what the vacancy is and how long the average tenants stay. And what's cool to me about this is the fact that this is taking historical data of how long tenants average stay there, what is the vacancy rate for this neighborhood. So it's painting a story, and I can start forecasting my numbers to see how long I can expect a tenant to stay and what the vacancy is, et cetera. Now, if you go down here, you can actually click and you can change the amount of your down payment, right? So you can change that. It's saying it's recommending 40%, right? And I'm going to show you how this twists and tweaks this number. Well, let's just go to the average investor that does 25% down, which is $43,000, and you're going to do a 30-year loan. Now you can say 15-year all cash. It's kind of cool. And then you go over here and it'll talk about the interest rate. Now this is a more filter. So if you take that away, there's not as many filters that gives you this information. But if you look here at the down payment, it's saying 9% appreciation. The rental growth rate is 3.7%, and maintenance is going to be 8%. Obviously, this is based on the age of the property, anything that's been done to the property, and the neighborhood, right? So this is going to change in different areas, different properties, et cetera. And are you going to reinvest the cash flow, right? That's what it's asking. Now, what's interesting is when you come down here, this is actually showing you on a 30-year run what this property will be worth. So it's saying if you own this property for 30 years, it will be worth $653,000. You'll get cash flow of 113 for the term, and you'll get $540,000 in equity. So what this is telling me right here is if I put $43,000 down in 30 years, perfect world, right? You will have a property worth $653,000, right? Now, what's interesting is if you look right here, this is showing you the sliding scale. Now, like for you, if you bought this property and you're saying, hey, Steve, I need to make cash flow on day one. So green is cash flow, blue is appreciation, gray is principal. When I look at this number and you say, I need to make money, year one, man, I got to be cash flowing. I'm going to tell you, you know what? Right here, it's saying, see if I can do this without it going crazy. That's not going to do it. If you look at the cash flow up on top, it's showing you're going to be minus $14 on year one to year two. Mm-hmm. Based on this deal, I would say this is not a good deal for you based on your goals.
If I needed immediate
If you needed immediate cash flow. If you're saying, you know what, I can hold off for a while, I'm going to go, well, that's good because you're not going to be making money until about year 7 or 8, it looks like, on cash flow. Now, then it starts going up. Now, the challenge here is a lot of people buy properties, they look at a deal and they go, oh, this is not a good deal because I'm not making any money. I would say it depends on your goals. If you need cash flow right now, I agree, it's probably not a good deal. If you're telling me you're buying a property for down the road and long term, why do you care what the cash flow is doing? You're putting $43,000 down and you'll basically make $600,000 in 30 years.
So would this be considered like a balanced property?
I would say so. I mean, it's, look, this isn't a slamming, amazing, knock your socks off deal, but this is what they call a positive geared property where it's a cookie cutter deal. Okay. You're not going to get hurt doing this. Now, what's interesting, if you look right here and you change the financing, to here, and you go to 15 years, that changes. See, you're not going to make any cash flow, but you're going to pay this thing off in 15 years.
You're losing cash. You're going to be losing money.
You're losing money.
But you're gaining appreciation.
Exactly, and you're gaining equity because you're gaining principal. The principal's going up, and it's in 15 years. Now, if you did all cash, you can have a more balance. But again, you can look at this, and it's going to tell you based on how you should buy it. Now, obviously, if you go right here and you say, okay, well, what if I made the rent up a little bit higher? Now you see it changes all the numbers. What if I made the purchase price a little bit lower? So now you can look at this, and again, there's no emotions in this discussion so far, right? So you and your wife are sitting here talking about this deal. There are no emotions going on in this conversation. It's purely numbers. And the numbers are telling you the story. And it's telling you whether you should move on or not move on. Then it comes down here and it gives you all these assumptions of, what we talked about earlier to tell you, and it's telling you right here what your cash flow would be at what point. And again, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just giving you data. Now, what I like here, and I'm going to kind of hurry up here, is, again, this is all data specifically for this area, which I think is pretty cool because different neighborhoods, different areas are going to have different numbers. Now, when you go in here, this tells me a lot. This is saying in Lake Meadows Estates, there are 237 households, and there's 600 people that live there, okay? Of those 600 people, 76% of them are homeowners, 23% of the people rent. So I would say, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I would say it's a good thing because to me, when there's a lot of homeowners in here, you are going to have a lot of people that are going to take care of the properties more than if it was just all renters. Just my opinion. Right. Here you look and say, okay, 68% are white collar jobs, 31% are blue collar jobs. Okay, so there's good jobs there. Now you scroll down a little bit further and you say, okay, well, Steve, that's great. But if I have a house that's renting for, I think it was $1,500, how many people can afford $1,500 in this neighborhood? Am I getting a house that everything else is renting for $1,000? I've got this great house, but no one can afford it, right? So you look right here and it tells you 71% of the rental properties in this neighborhood have a rental rate greater than $1,540. That tells me people can afford this rent, right?
That would make me sleep good at night.
Well, yeah, because you know that if it's vacant and you have a vacancy, which they're saying every 2 years you're going to go vacant, right, this will be able to be re-rented.
Right. And
then it tells you over here based on 3 times the income of what the rent is, this is what the average person should make, which I believe it says $61,000, and it's saying that people make that much money. So again, this data is very, very vital. Now it shows you commute time, household income. I mean, the information they get is, it's very, very interesting. And so again, this is taking a map, taking all this information, and it's instant. I mean, we clicked on this and all of this information was here to make a decision. Now, if I have a deal and this is the first time I'm looking at this software, I'm really not going to know what I'm looking at. But if I've looked at this 50 or 100 times and ran deals and scenarios, and all of a sudden this deal pops up, I'm going to be like, I know the area, I know what it's doing. This is something that I should move on.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about this whole process is for someone that's kind of new to real estate, it's, how do you, I live in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is really expensive when you think about investment property, but a place like Texas, it's a little more affordable. It's a little, how do I get into that market? Working with a partner such as Investment, it makes it a lot easier, helps me find a deal, get started. We're going to be sending you guys a link at the end, or we'll share a link with you guys where we'll, kind of, so you guys can kind of walk through and do the same process. Steve, okay, I found the deal. Now let's talk about what to do with the deal, and how to make it valuable.
Yeah.
That renovations and all of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question because, one of the challenges we all have with getting a deal, especially if we're new to this. Yeah, you can go ahead and close that if you want. Oh, you got that? Okay. So one of the challenges we all have when we get a deal, especially if we're new, is we don't really know what we should do with the deal, right? We're kind of curious as how do we get this deal together? What do we do with it? And that kind of stuff. So what I would suggest is, when you get a deal and you're doing something, think about the area that you're in and think about what you should be doing to the property, right? So let's go ahead and click through. And again, first thing you've got to do is you've got to remember who your target client is. Who am I talking to make sure that I am renting, selling, or whatever I'm doing to the right person? It's not necessarily my taste of the deal.
Right.
It's what does the client or the target want and what do they see that's of value, right?
Right.
So how do you appeal to the needs and emotions of people? And this is obviously a question that you're asking, and I think some of this is for you also, right? Yeah. In my opinion, the way you do that is you got to see what the market bears, what's in the area. Meaning, if you have a property, let's just say that is in an area that there's a bunch of millennials, let's just say, right? And if there's a bunch of millennials, what do they want? They probably want a lot of Wi-Fi. They probably want a lot of USB ports. They probably use Uber, so they may not be in the suburbs. So that's a different type of property that you're going to get, and you're going to do different things. If you're doing something for a millennial, let's just say, they're probably going to care more about the Wi-Fi and that kind of stuff, maybe backup storage power or whatever they got for all their gadgets, as opposed to double pane windows. Right? Double pane windows in your property is a capital improvement, but it won't appeal to the millennials. So if I tell a millennial, hey, I got double pane windows, you should pay me more rent, they're going to go, I don't even know what that means. If you say, hey, I've got so much bandwidth that you can use in this property because we, lined, I don't even know, it used to be T1, I don't know what it is now, but we've got so much power coming into this property through internet, and you can have 15 of your friends gaming on this at one time, they're going to go, I'll pay for that.
And on the flip side, I mean, think about if it was like a mom with a few kids in the suburbs or something like that. They'd be more interested. They'd have different interests. It could be security. Right? And so there's a lot of different things that you can and shouldn't do based on your target, based on your market. Someone in the Bay Area of California is going to want something different than someone in Minnesota. You're right.
Different
Minnesota. In Minnesota,
they want a snow shovel.
You're exactly right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so those are some of the things you think about. If you're in a older retirement community neighborhood, you may want ramps, ease of access. Yeah, wider parking structures and that kind of stuff. So again, these are kind of the things that I would suggest when you're looking at a property. You really got to do some homework on who you want to rent it to. I think when some people say like, I'll rent it to anyone, I think that's stupid. Like, what do you mean you'll rent it to anyone? Like, yeah, you could, but if you were more focused and more vertical into who you're going to rent it to, you can go specific to that target and you can make more money. And to me, that's the thing that you really want to think about. Did you have any other?
No, that makes sense for me. I mean, I know, I went to college, and I remember you think about some of the frat houses and things like that. If you were doing something for my needs when I was a student was a lot different than what I will accept today as an adult.
Absolutely.
I have 2 kids, I have a family, I need security, I need a yard, I need a garage. But when I was younger, I took more public transportation.
Top ramen.
Top ramen. As long as it had a refrigerator, I didn't care what kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now I'm like, okay, does it have a certain type?
These double doors. Is there an ice machine?
I'm fancy now.
Can I get my wine? Is there a wine holder?
Right.
No, yeah, it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to think about who you're going after. Like, if I told you, hey, Wendell, man, you're gonna love this because I can get 13 gamers to play in your house, and you're gonna have Wi-Fi. You're gonna be like, I don't need that. That does no appeal. I'm like, no, you're gonna pay me more rent because I did that for you.
Right.
And you're gonna be like, no, I'm not paying more for that. That doesn't appeal to me.
It doesn't appeal to me.
So you wouldn't do that.
Younger me would. I get you.
Exactly. So let's talk about this, painting the exterior. This is my thoughts on, you only get one chance at a first impression. Okay. So when you drive up to a house and you see that house and you're a renter, to me, you are trying to imagine yourself in that property living there. And it happens so quick, but if you think about it, if I'm renting a property and I drive up and the house is dirty, the paint is chipped, the roof is sagging, there's stuff in the yard, all that stuff, I'm gonna be like, I can't picture myself coming home to this every day, right? And so you're gonna deter a lot of people. Painting the exterior is not expensive, not like what people think it is. It's not very expensive to do. Paint is something that just does wonders to a property, and that is that first impression when people drive up. I hate to say it, I knew somebody that used to actually just paint the front parts of the house because he said, you know what? He said it was maybe a little unscrupulous how he did it, but that's what he would do. Yeah. And he said, look, he goes, that is what rents these places. Now they were, different type of properties and all different time frame, but
you only get one chance to make a first impression.
Exactly.
When they pull up, they're walking in, they have a positive assumption as they walk in.
Or is it negative?
Well, I'm saying they'd have a positive if they saw it was painted.
Absolutely.
They would assume that the place is probably clean.
Absolutely.
It would assume, and then the rest of the walkthrough would determine whether that held up.
And some of the things about that, I'm not sure if it's in here, but cleaning the yard, having green grass, mulch, flowers, This is not expensive, but that is that first impression. Are they even going to stop the car, or are they just going to keep on driving by?
You're right. You think about just appealing to the senses. Your senses. Visual. There's your visual.
Exactly.
You think about it. There's your visual, but then you walk in. You walk in. Let's go to the next slide. You walk in, and what do you see? Walk in. What do you see? This is where you're gonna. If there's a mom and there's a couple. The mom, or no, I'm not gonna say moms and dads use the kitchen, but I know the kitchen is something that usually stands out to people. Do they have? Is it a nice stove? Is the refrigerator? Is it a quality refrigerator? Is there cutting space? Things like that. That kind of to me, if I'm a cook or the chef in the house, this is something that would appeal to my needs.
And I want to touch on that, but 80% of the time is spent in the kitchen.
You're right.
So there, again, even if you're just talking, having a conversation, you're normally in the kitchen doing it.
Right.
But let's back up a second, right? Let's talk about opening the front door. Yeah. Right. So you open the front door. What does the door handle look like?
Right.
Is the door painted? Right. That is that first impression before they even get into the house. They're going, the door's sticking. Right. They're trying to get the door open. They're shouldering it in. Right. Then before they see it, it's actually the smell.
You're right.
How does the house smell?
Playing off the senses.
Senses.
They could smell if a dog was there, if a cat was
Absolutely.
there.
Someone smoked or this or that. Now you got vaping. You've got other issues that you have to figure out and you've got to fix. So the first thing is the senses, right?
Yeah.
How does it smell? Fresh paint and either new carpet or very, very well cleaned carpet go a long way.
Right.
Because here's the thing. As soon as they walk in, they are imagining their stuff in the property, right? So if they walk in and they see dirt and trash and, people leave like old furniture in there, and I'm thinking, it is free to pull the trash and furniture out of that property.
Right.
Why? Or they don't put light bulbs in and it's dark, and the light bulbs don't work, right? These are all things that people are catching and, they're smelling the house. There's a smell.
Right.
One of the tricks when I used to have houses and when I was wholesaling them, you'd put vanilla extract in water.
Right.
And there's something about vanilla cookies apparently that does something with the senses. I don't know what it is, but that's what I was told. But the thing is those are the senses, and it's giving you a warm, inviting feeling, right? The other thing is turning on all the lights,
right.
opening up all the doors,
right.
making it a big open place. So far, none of these things have cost us any money.
Nope.
These are all free things, but this is the perception of the senses as to whether or not they're even going to get to the kitchen.
You're right.
You know what I mean? They may go, you know what, I'm out of here, you know?
Right. Right.
So then they go to the kitchen, and like you said, you know, it depends. If I'm renting to a bunch of millennials, I'm like, hey man, you guys can cook, you can do this. They're going to go, we use Uber Eats.
Right.
This isn't what we do.
Right.
And so those are the things you want to think about. Now, you talk about the flooring, right? And so to me, that has a lot to do with what kind of traffic is going to be in the house and the usability. So for example, you know, if I'm going to keep this house for 30 years, I may put more expensive flooring in that's more durable and lasting, maybe like, you know, tile or the new, you know, ceramic type tiling that looks like wood, something that's very durable, because I don't want to have to keep replacing it. If there's carpet, I'm going to have to replace it more often. So there's going to be more costs. So you either spend it now or spend it later during the make ready. But during that time frame, you know, you're going to have to keep up the carpet. More importantly, when your property is not making money and it's vacant, that's when you're going to have to spend a lot of money to replace the carpet.
Right.
Doesn't make sense, right? So I recommend, you know, either hardwoods or some of the other type of laminates that exist. That to me is more bang for the buck, and it makes more sense when you got a property. Yeah, bathrooms. Yeah, bathrooms are big. Bathrooms are one of the things to me that, you know, bathrooms and kitchens will get you the highest return.
Yeah.
Right. So again, spend the money. If the toilet is stained, replace it or clean it.
Right.
Don't leave it like that. You know, the other suggestion I would say is when you have a vacant property, turn the water on.
Right.
When there's people walking your property and all of a sudden they have to use the restroom and there's no water, guess what happens? Now you have a property that smells because you didn't want to turn the water on.
Right.
I say turn the water on.
And you think about it, a lot of the fixtures and things that you see, they're not that expensive. I mean, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or even on Amazon, and you could get some fancy fixtures that will just give the perception that, I mean, it'll look nice and it'll have this really elegant perception that a renter would definitely be into.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, these are easy, you know, again, clean, white, all that stuff. It just looks crisp and it feels clean and it feels good. You want it to be inviting. You don't want to give them any reasons to say no. It's like you want the yeses to keep coming.
Right.
And as soon as you give them a smell or a look or an odor, they're not going to do that. And that's kind of the thing.
Right.
Lighting. Yeah. I mean, lighting's a big one, you know, and again, it's not expensive. You know, you get the LED lighting that really lights it up. One of the worst things I've seen people do is they have different types of lights. Mm-hmm. You know, you may have like yellow lights and LED light, you know, because they're older. And I'm like, why don't you just replace all the lights to make them uniform?
Consistent.
It's consistency, right? Show that you care, because here's the thing. If you have a property that smells and is dirty and looks bad, and you get a tenant and they go, hey, this is perfect, I'll take it. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking in my mind, why is he going to have a problem with any of this? Right. And how is he going to leave my house when he's done?
No, you're right. That's a good point.
He's like, oh, well, it looks good to me. Better than the last place I had. I'm ready to go. You know, and you're like, really? Interesting. So again, this is just something to think about, that, you know, what kind of tenant do you want and how do you expect them to treat the property? If you give it to them trashed, you're probably going to get it back trashed even more, right? That's just how it is, right? And it's going to have more wear and tear and more damage. I want someone that wants the house perfect. You know, when we had properties, when Pete and I owned our properties and stuff, and even managing them, we would actually be happier when we had picky tenants that really had a list of things they wanted fixed. Why? Because it means they care about the house and they want it to look good. If it looks good, they're going to treat it nice and they're going to stay longer. Right. So a picky tenant in the beginning is actually not a bad thing. Right. We actually would encourage them, hey, let us know what you want. We want you to stay. We want you to make this your place that you feel comfortable in. So lighting is huge. And again, when you're showing a property, I turn on all the lights, open up all the doors. You want to make it as big and as inviting as possible.
I would even think, I mean, you think about just the lighting on the exterior. I mean, as you walk up to the house, you
accent
know,
lighting,
accent lighting, and then, you know, you walk up to the door. You know, we've all been in that time we're fumbling with our keys. It's dark. We got groceries. Is there an automatic light that comes on for safety?
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, all of those things, I think, kind of go into, you know, kind of building this case for this rental, for someone to, you know, be paying hard-earned cash for them to be living in your home.
Yeah, and, you know, to me, the thing is I think about, like, okay, if I'm an investor and I put $1 in, am I getting $2 back out of the property?
Right.
So if I put in, $10 in mulch, is that going to help me with my rent? Well, it depends on the area, right? Depends on the target you're going after. But in general, those things are very inexpensive, and it gives you a high return. Right. Like I said, putting in double pane, probably not much, right? Putting in a whole new set of lightings, maybe, maybe not, depends on the target, and that's what you want to think about.
Focus on the sizzle. How I think about that is, we've been talking about the senses, but I mean, in everything you do, it's most of the time it's emotional. And I mean, if there's something you can have, I mean, you guys, as you guys see, there's that's some sort of a smart home fixture. If I had a property and I was in, San Francisco, downtown, that's something that if there was a Nest and a smart home there, that's something that would appeal to the senses of a millennial. This is something that, all things being equal, one of them had a smart home, they would choose my home. And you know what? I probably would be able to get more rent for it because of the perception.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. And I think even nowadays, it's not that it's becoming a point of difference. I think it's actually becoming the norm.
You're right.
I think this is becoming the norm of what you need to have in a property.
Right.
So pretty soon, houses that don't have these are going to be obsolete.
You're right.
And so, again, and I even think not millennial. I mean, I would like that.
You're right. I mean,
I'm close to millennial. Don't get me wrong, but
you're like 25.
I'm close to 27.
So, I mean, you figure, you got brands like Ring and Nest, and
Absolutely.
A lot of them, they start off, a lot of these people you're getting Amazon deliveries every day. If you had a camera set up to where it added an additional layer of security, you had sensor cameras on the inside. So, things like that. I mean, if you're someone that has, a lot of, people might travel for work. If you're away from home, if there was already a built-in smart home system, I know for me, that's something that I would pay extra for. So,
well, and not only that, but the thing is all these things we're talking about, to me, these are capital improvements to your property. Right. You are making your property worth more value. It's not like you're just throwing it away. You're not spending it. You're investing it in your home. So you're making your home, you're making it more appealing to a renter. You're going to get more money, but more importantly, you're investing in your property to make it nicer. This is your asset. You put your money into this.
You're talking about it like it's a business or something.
It's just like a business. Shocker, right? Yeah, it's another discussion, but yes, absolutely. Another webinar.
Awesome. So, like we said, our whole rationale for even doing this is it's all about taking that next step. We are all at different stages of the journey. My man Steve, he's in some investment groups. He has a bunch of units. He's leveling himself up. I'm in the process of leveling myself up. Like I said, for me, it was my next step was just buying a home so that I could then become an investor and, start to take action. But while I'm doing that, to continue to learn and get those practice swings so that when I am shooting, I am in the real world shooting live bullets, I'll know what to do and I'll know how to spot that hot deal. And this experience that we're kind of walking you through, we want you guys to do the same thing. And so for us, our whole thing is take action. Don't just sit on the sidelines and watch. Get into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, we've got our Facebook group, the Mastermind Real Estate Investment Club. We have a podcast show where Alex and I interview, top level investors to basic investors, and we talk about their challenges. I mean, there's, bigger pockets. I mean, there's so much free information out there.
And don't forget the meetups.
We've got our meetups.
We're actually in Las Vegas right now. We're doing a meetup tonight with, almost 100 local investors will be out. We've got, a top broker is going to be out. It's all about education and taking the next step. Yesterday, we were in Sacramento. People think we're crazy, but we're really passionate about helping and empowering prospective real estate investors to take that next step.
And after the event, we're going to go win our whole year's worth of salary at the casino. Guaranteed. I guarantee it. We'll win the money. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're all doing this. We're all investors. We're all trying to get better. The only way you get better is by chatting, conversing. You can't sit in this black hole and expect to come out of the gate where all the lights are green and you just make all these deals happen. The only way you happen is by looking at the software, messing around with it, looking at deals, going and looking around, doing all that stuff. And that's what you got to do, right? Whether you talk to us or you do something else, just do something, walk out of here at least saying, I'm going to do something when it's all said and done. I don't care what it is, but take some action, because to me, all the people that I know that are super successful, they don't do any one thing great. The only thing they do is consistent action. That's all they do is they take action every day, right, wrong, and different. They take action.